To California, first the debate, now the smears. Republican gubernatorial candidate Meg Whitman sitting down with us in her first live interview following Tuesday's big debate with Jerry Brown. And he's going to be responding to the controversial allegations made just an hour or so ago by a former housekeeper. First on Fox, Meg Whitman right now. Meg, very good to have you. Thank you for coming.
Hey, Neil. How are you?
I'm very fine. By the way, we did put out a call to your opponent, Jerry Brown. He's been on the show before. I always hope he will show up. Nevertheless, the invite is out there, and I hope the former governor takes us up on it. In the meantime, Meg, to what this former housekeeper charges, do you want to respond to it?
It's simply a lie. And I feel terrible for Nikki. Nikki is a wonderful individual. She was an extended part of our family for 9 years, and something has happened. She is being manipulated. This is a political gimmick, led by Gloria Allred, who is famous for this kind of stuff. It's bad, it's just politics as usual, and it's a real shame because poor Nikki, I think, I just feel terrible for her. So anyway, it's all not true, and but it's just politics as usual.
Now, be that as it may, these stories take on a life of their own. She claims you knew pretty much from the outset that she was an illegal alien. She was a housekeeper, a nanny, whatever, to you for the better part of 9 years. Is it true that during any of that time you suspected that she was not a legal citizen of this country?
Absolutely. No, absolutely not. We used an employment agency to find Nikki. She filled out a 1099, showed a California driver's license. Everything was in order. We specified with the employment agent we wanted to make sure we had someone who was here legally to work in the United States. And no one was more surprised when she came to me in June of 2009 and admitted that she was here illegally and had forged the documents. So, what we had to do.
At that point, you said, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to let you go?
Yeah. We said, gosh, Nikki, I'm terribly sorry, but we would be breaking the law if we kept you in our employment, and so we have to let you go. So that Saturday she came to our house to tell us that she was not here legally, and she never came back to work because it was just, not the right thing to do to keep her in our employ. So, I feel bad. As I said, I feel terrible for Nikki, but, we had no idea that she was not here legally.
What did she say at the time when you let her go?
She said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I love your family. And, I've worked for you for 9 years, and I'm so sorry.
And what did you make of the timing of this announcement, Gloria Allred and all, today?
It's clearly politically motivated. We had a great debate last night. I think I did very, very well. No surprise, this morning Gloria Allred pops up with a political stunt. I think it's just, politics as usual.
Let's talk a little bit about that debate and what's happened since this incident notwithstanding, because these things are hard to verify one way or the other. But I did want to get your views on it, Meg. But Governor Brown has been saying that putting
Neil,
Go
ahead. Let me just say something. Neil, it's actually not hard to verify. We have all the documentation. We've put it out there. This is a black and white case. So it's
when you say you have the documentation,
absolutely.
being when you knew exactly when she was illegal and not, right?
Well, we have the documentation that we got from the employment agency when we hired her that had all the documents filled out. So
Okay. To Governor Brown in the debate last night, when he said that putting you in the governor's mansion would be akin to putting a pal of big business in the governor's mansion, and that your support for a capital gains tax cut in the state would remind voters that you're a friend of billionaires and millionaires. He mentioned it last night. It got a lot of play in the press, as did a lot of your charges against him, which we'll get to. But what do you make of that? That you're a billionaire, you spent a lot of your money, a record amount of your money, to become California's next governor, and that's your Achilles heel?
Well, what Jerry Brown forgets is that California has a 12.4% unemployment, third highest in the country, and we are no longer competitive with neighboring states to keep good jobs in California. So I want to eliminate some taxes so businesses feel welcome in California. The state capital gains tax is one of them. It's a tax on jobs, it's a tax on investment, it's a tax on innovation that makes us not competitive with neighboring states. And the truth is, Californians have a choice. We can stick our head in the sand and say, hey, the weather's great in California, that will be enough to keep good jobs here, or we can compete with other states. rates. I'm for competing. We can win this. We can turn California around, but not with the status quo. And I think what you saw last night is Jerry Brown is a protector of the status quo. If he goes to Sacramento, all the unions will come into a meeting. He will call them all together, and they will present their IOUs to him for having funded his entire campaign. He is captive to the special interests of Sacramento. And the good news is I'm not, because I have invested my own money. I don't owe anyone anything to anyone except for the voters of California.
Now, you threw a zinger at him last night into those captive interests, and this got a chuckle out of a lot of it, folks. This is from last night.
Jerry Brown in charge of negotiating with the labor unions around pensions, around how many people we have in the state government, is like putting Count Dracula in charge of the blood bank. The fact is, nothing will get done.
Oh, that was a pretty clever line, but immediately the governor then responded that you sort of did an about face on whether you require all state workers to sign up for 401k type plans where they contribute to their retirement, and it isn't a sort of a fixed benefit coming from the state, and that you can be easily sort of cowed. How do you respond to that?
He's just wrong about it. So there's two kinds of employees that report to the governor: public safety and rank and file civil servants. For public safety, I want the retirement age to go from now just 50 to 55 years old. I want extension of vesting time frames and those employees to pay more money into their retirement. But I do think for public safety, they can stay on a defined benefit program. These are people who are putting their life on the line for Californians. They have to recruit the very best and the brightest. So I think that's fair. You move to the rank and file civil servants who work for the Department of Motor Vehicles or the Department of Agriculture. We need to move those retirement ages from 55 to 65, and those individuals need to come in, new employees need to come in under a different deal, a 401k style program like many in the private sector. So I think it's a very fair program. It's a tough program, but we have got to get our arms around this unfunded pension liability, because the taxpayers of California are on the hook for more money than we have any hope of paying unless we renegotiate all these benefits.
You've got one of the biggest state deficits in the country with no conceivable way of balancing the books. Chris Christie in New Jersey, who's campaigned for you, has done it all through spending cuts, but a lot of people say that that's kind of smoke and mirrors math. We just don't know. We'll see what happens down the road. Can you tell the California people that should you become governor, you will never raise taxes?
I will never raise taxes. This is not the right thing to do. In the middle of a recession, we can't raise taxes on anyone. And Californians are overtaxed. We have among the highest business tax rates, the highest personal income tax, among the highest sales taxes. Higher taxes is absolutely not the answer. Here's what the answer is, and there is a way forward. We can get this budget back in order, but first we have to get people back to work in California. We've seen a decline in tax revenues by almost $20 billion because the unemployment rates are so high. So we've got to get Californians back to work, more companies paying taxes, more individuals paying taxes, and then we have to reduce the costs of government. We have a government we can no longer afford. We've got to shrink the size of government. We've got to use technology to do more with less. We have to reform our welfare program, which is, we've got 12% of the population of the country, 32% of the welfare cases, and we have to reform the public employee pension program, as we just discussed.
All right, Meg Whitman, thank you very much. Very good seeing you. It's a fascinating race, one of the tightest and most closely scrutinized in the country. We'll be watching you. Thank you, Meg.